Ah, Lei Heng. There's not much that could be said about him. But I want to make a video, so expect words. I want to stress this before we get started. I love Lei Heng. He's my favourite boss in Limbus, especially since the last knight is no longer here. And for the longest time, he was the go-to boss. Hell, he still is the go-to boss for solo runs. But we're not getting into that today. Because today, we're talking about the worst kept secret in Limbus Company. He got a Reflectrial, and it's basically the same fight. He has some new stuff, but fundamentally, it is the exact same boss. And yet, people love him. Unless you look at Reddit, that is. So, in case you're new to Limbus, or you just like the sound of my voice, let's quickly break him down. Now, I have long regarded Lei Heng as the ultimate skill check. This game is a turn-based game. It feels great to plan your turn out. Up to 7 units on a team. 2 skills to choose from. You can swap them out for defensive options or ego spamming. And now let's get really simple with it. You drag your skill to enemy skill to clash. See good word is good clash. See bad word is bad clash. Win clash good. Lose clash bad. That about sums up the gameplay. It's really simple, hard to mess up. There are more advanced tactics, but you're not going to need them for Lei Heng. Why is that, I hope you ask? Because he's going to fuck you up before you get a chance. There's no Morositas to save you this time. Now that I've got some semblance of an intro out of the way, let's talk Reflectrial. I've made my feelings publicly well known. It is a new endgame mode that felt designed specifically for Lei Heng. In fact, my last Limbus video was full of praise for this particular one, because it turned our resident punching bag into a hydrogen bomb that beats the coughing baby. So, starting turn 1, you don't get your hand held with Morositas. Instead, you start with 30 SP, only if you're a plus coin ID. Starting with 30 SP increases your chances of rolling heads, which is important for good clash we talked about earlier. Having this boost in SP is good because in about 5 turns you might be dead. Instead of the usual 50-50 chance 0 SP to roll heads, having 30 reduces the snowball factor of the fight, thus meaning less restarts. Another change is how the fight starts. See, in the story, you have a forced ass beating, then Dante locks in and you get a full heal, and if you were lucky, your sinners would lose their first stagger threshold. Reflectrial does away with that. There's no forced loss, it does away with its script. Unlike me, my script says this is the part where you subscribe for more content, please I need this. And this leads me into the most important factor of this fight. Decision making. And what better way to make a decision than information? Thankfully, Limbus gives us just that. If you've played the best ID in the game, Salt, you surely know about ammo, and how important it is. Lei Heng has 2 different variants, Tiger Mark and Savage Tiger Mark. His skills spend both depending on which he has loaded at that time. Now in a regular story mode fight, he simply spends them to boost his attacks. If he spends a Tiger Mark round, he deals additional burn potency and count. If he doesn't spend any ammo, then no burn. That still leaves you to deal with the Tremor, but it's less taxing on your team. But it was never a huge issue. Sure, he inflicts burn, but it's not a whole lot. Whereas in Reflectrial, the big change is now you really care about managing his ammo. You see, when using his big scary blasting Shattermark Chinese letter skill, if he has 3+ bullets, the skill deals 100% more damage. Which sounds like a lot, and that's because it is a lot. No fancy gimmick, just good old fashioned clash well or die. It's not entirely hopeless though. You see, he has around 6 rounds loaded at any time. Some of his skills lose Tiger Mark rounds if Lei Heng loses the clash, as well as spending Tiger Mark themselves. And this is where Limbus tests your fundamental understanding of the game. How are you clashing his skills? You see, other bosses do this too. They demand you know how to clash, but none more so than Lei Heng require you to sequence those clashes. If you've been paying attention, you may have guessed it by now. But if blasting Shattermark has no Tiger Mark rounds to spend, what happens? He fucks your shit up less. So I touched on this before, but let's expand on the clashing. You probably know how clashing works. I pray you do. Now normally, clashing isn't super important. More often than not, all you do in clashing is focus on winning them. There's only 2 bosses where clashing is really important. Rian and the 2 index bosses. But this is about those bums. However, I bring them up to highlight that whether you knew it or not, you probably stopped caring about sequencing. So why is it important now? Because Lei Heng made it relevant again. Like I said, Lei Heng likes to spend ammo on his skills, and if he can't, then he's not nuking your sinners in one turn. Now, you're probably more likely to pick the clashes that have the highest chances of winning. Good word mean good clash after all. And so, if you clash his weaker skills, regardless of success rate, his stronger skills get weaker. But it's more complex than that, because you have to deal with the other mechanics. You've played Limbus enough, so you know about Satan's very own design of unbreakable coins. To the shock of absolutely no one, Lei Heng has those. So when Lei Heng loses a clash, as well as his Tiger Mag rounds, he's not doing as much damage as he normally would. Except, he's doing more. Why? Because you didn't read. No matter how many clashes you win, Lei Heng remains a threat unless managed properly, and this is what really makes me love this fight. Normally, I'd be guilty of turning my brain off during these things. You know, getting lost in the repetitive dragging of skills, seeing what word pops up. But that doesn't work here, and I love it for that. You see, his speed is the determining factor here. His damage scales with his speed. The more he goes fast, the faster the fight snowballs, the sooner you get to see the continue screen. So now we can finally talk about the longest forgotten status effect. Crap baskets, what was it again? This is all phase 1 talk, by the way. It gets worse. Inflicting Bind makes him weaker. Not just because it makes his attacks weaker, but the extra defense level down it enforces on him when he has 3 or more bind. And that is where the tricky part comes in. Inflicting Bind. There aren't that many ways to do it outside of egos, and to do that requires resources. And so you get 3 turns to build him up before he uses one of his nuke skills. Decision making is a constant factor at play in this fight. Lei Heng basically demanding Bind to be inflicted amps up the pressure in that turn. You can't go on autopilot and expect to have an easy win, unless you're the middle. The fight is built around managing a ticking time bomb of raw sex appeal and unrelenting aura, but you have to slow down before it explodes all over the splash zone. Alrighty then, now we can finally talk about phase 2 of the fight. You may have noticed I neglected to talk about Prey. Well, that's because, although it's ever present in phase 1, it's in phase 2 where the real threat emerges. Now, Prey is quite simple to understand. It marks the sinner who did the most damage to Lei Heng the previous turn, and makes them, well, Prey. The affected unit clashes worse into him, and if they win the clash, well, you get some resources from him. Using a defense skill is usually the right move, to be honest. The reason being, he loses out on dealing an extra 50% damage to the prey when they do. The trade-off to this, however, being Lei Heng himself takes 50% less damage from prey if they win the clash. In phase 1, that is. In phase 2, you can just get fucked. In phase 2, when Lei Heng attacks the unit designated prey, he gains base power and deals massive damage, all backed up by unbreakable coins. However, just like phase 1, equipping a defense skill causes this to not trigger. The coins are still unbreakable, but you might not die. More on this in a moment. My last form of praise is the buffs for this reflectorial. There's no real shilling. There's still shilling, of course, but it isn't wholly team specific. Phase 1 being Gluttony and Rupture Pill naturally screams Heishu, but you aren't locked to solely them. If it said something like HCOP specific IDs, then there'd be a problem, and phase 2 screams Trevor Scourge. But let's be real here, that is basically the entirety of burn teams at this point in time. And Lei Heng's buff, 80% max HP. That's it. I don't want to complain about this, because it could have been so much worse, but it drags the fight out. You see, we already have an ego resource issue. With a constant need of healing and inflicting bind, those resources will dwindle faster than you'd expect. There's a lot to praise here, and I hope I did a good job. But I would have been doing a great job if I didn't highlight some negatives I have. So with that said, it's time we get to them. His kit is more or less the exact same. Now thankfully, I love this boss, so I don't mind it as much. But in case you haven't noticed, it really is just a supercharged version of the story fight. His passives remain the same. In fact, they removed one of them, the overheat passive, which makes sense since it's a pretty significant nerf, but they didn't really change anything else. Think Tianchu's Starblade, which I know I butchered the pronunciation of. There's no change. I would have liked to have seen him do something like unopposed attacks deal 10% damage but inflict 3 fragile, or make it so defense skills don't cancel this effect in the first place. Leaving a skill unopposed is already asking for trouble. Chances are, you're clashing every skill. Another negative I have is Tiger background. I don't feel anything for them. All the real danger is their savage counterpart. When a coin spends this ammo, they deal 30% extra damage and inflict double burn potency and count. I wish Tiger Mag did something extra too. Next up has to be the ads. Let's be honest here, they aren't dying the turn they're summoned. Dedicating the manpower to somewhat slightly inconvenienced Lei Heng isn't worth dying for. Since they reload Lei Heng, it would have been cool to have a reload you can contest and potentially stop. And well, that's really it for the negatives. Oh, and there's only one new really cool cutscene. We could have had two. So, here are my final thoughts. Man, what a great fight. I mean it, no fight is ever perfect, but I'd be a liar if I didn't say this is damn close to it. A fight with a new gimmick or hyper-specific shills can usually piss off everyone. Here's a boss that demands you not only know the fundamentals of Limbus Company, but of turn-based games, and the fight flows. There's no long-winded transition cutscenes or constant interruptions. It's a slugfest of back and forth action that asks you the biggest question a gacha game can ask. Can you read?
No. No, I don't think I will.
So, the verdict? There's a reason Lei Heng is so beloved, and this further reinforces that sentiment. He truly is the gold standard. This video isn't comprehensive by any means, but it doesn't need to be. It really is a fight you need to experience. If you like this video, don't forget to like, comment and subscribe. I'm always curious to know what you think, and that's what the comment section is for. So use it. If you want to see more scripted videos, be sure to let me know. They take a while, but I do hope they're worth it. I've kept you long enough, so go hydrate those dry ass lips I know you have, so I can tell you to, like always, stay refreshing.